Hi guys! Tonight we're going to talk about those first few steps that you might want to take if you think that you're a victim of discrimination at work. Those of you who have watched a few of my videos probably know that I am a huge fan of trying to work things out with your employer before you go to EEOC. And that means letting them know what happened and being willing to work with them on a solution. I know it can be scary to talk to your employer about a complaint, but if you don't, nothing's ever going to change. And however hard it may be to talk to them now, it's not going to get easier as you go through the EEOC process. Before you have this hard talk, there are a couple things you're going to want to do to prepare for it, to improve the chances that your employer is going to hear what you have to say, or worst case, to be able to protect yourself if this conversation goes badly and you end up at EEOC. First thing is check your emotions. In a discrimination claim, your feelings are relevant, but you want to be able to communicate them as calmly and rationally as possible. Of course, some emotions are going to show through despite your best efforts. And if you're angry instead of just sad, it's even more important to check yourself. The person you're being angry in front of still feels your anger, whether or not it's directed at them. The rapid pulse, the pounding heart, the anxiety, that's fight or flight, and triggering it is not going to help them listen to you. Next, make a list of actions that you're concerned about. It may be things like your coworkers making fun of you or your boss refusing reasonable accommodation. For each of those, you're going to want to jot down some notes about the time, date, and location where it happened, the names of anybody who might have seen it happen, and of course, what actually happened. Just the basic facts. I asked for accommodations. My boss said no and reminded me that she could have me removed from my position. I felt threatened by that. Try to keep it at that level. So now that you have some data in the form of your list and you have the right state of mind, the next question is who to talk to. If the problem is your coworkers harassing you, then you're going to want to talk to your boss. If it's your boss who's harassing you or discriminating, I would go to their supervisor. Although some people would still say to go to your boss. But I decided just to go directly to my second-tier supervisor instead because I was concerned that another one-on-one meeting with my boss might further escalate the situation. Ultimately, do what you feel is right for your situation. The first thing you want to do is make the supervisor aware that you're feeling harassed or discriminated against. A lot of workplace harassment and discrimination is allowed to continue just because the victim doesn't make it clear that that type of conduct is unwelcome and unacceptable. So use those words, unacceptable, unwelcome. Move quickly into the idea of, I don't know what to do here and I could use your help figuring it out. You also want to let them know that you consider this a serious matter. Now, the list that we talked about earlier in this video can be a very effective way of communicating how serious you are. We don't often make lists of things that aren't important. So now might be a good time to start sharing some of the items on your list. If your list is long, you don't have to read every single item on it. The more you stay away from being over-detailed at this stage, the better. You don't want to show all your cards, and you don't want to drag your coworkers in at this early stage, unless you have to. It's a good idea to focus on the business reasons that you're concerned about this. Let the supervisor know that these concerns are making it hard for you to function effectively at work, and you want to do your job well and be successful. Before you end the conversation, thank the supervisor for their time and for hearing you out. Appreciation is powerful, and there are probably a few other things they would have rather been doing. My second-tier supervisor followed up by counseling my boss on a couple of issues. Now, unfortunately, in my case, that didn't solve my whole situation. But when I asked for those notes at discovery, I found that they did validate some of my allegations. When the meeting is over, you want to be mindful of retaliation. A very large percentage of the claims that win at EEOC are retaliation claims. An employee can lose on their original claim of discrimination and still win a retaliation claim. Here are some typical types of retaliatory action. And I'll put these and some other helpful links in the description so that you can bone up on what retaliation is. Now, every time something new happens, whether you're sure what it is or not, if it makes you feel discriminated against, harassed, or retaliated against, add it to your list. Keep that list current. Now, if you do start to see signs of retaliation, if the harassment escalates, or if that supervisor doesn't keep their commitment to get back to you, then that's when you might want to consider talking to somebody in your diversity office or at EEOC. If this conversation goes well, you may never have to go to EEOC. And that's a big win, because the fastest, surest, simplest way to stop the discrimination is to convince your employer to help.